Beautiful.
Good afternoon. It's David Celine and Bob Spitz from Drive. And today we have Cassey, one of our business coaches, and Jessica from Dave's Auto Body. Now, Jessica and Dave's Auto Body are one of the newest members of the Collision Top 20. So congratulations on that, Jessica.
Thank you.
And why don't
So-
you tell them, Cassey, for those who don't know what the top 20 collision group is, what is it?
Well, it's a group of collision shops that have met some benchmarks, whether they be financially, amount of years they've been in business, amount of certifications that they've accomplished with Drive, and training that they've done.
Okay, so these are experienced shops.
Exactly.
All
very,
right.
very experienced shops that work together now and guide each other, help each other, diagnose each other, look at their numbers, run each other through the ringer, pick on each other. We'll just say they kind of hold each other. It's a new level of accountability for the shops. So Jessica, we're here to talk about your shop though today here. So give us a little bit of background on it. How'd you get into the business, get started, and how's things going?
Well, Dave's Auto is celebrating 40 years in business this year.
Wow.
It was founded by my dad. I remember working in the shop summers when I was a kid, just cleaning cars, picking up, sweeping, filling the soda machine, whatever it was. It didn't start until about 2007 when I came into the office here, started taking over some book work. And in 2018, I bought the business from my parents. So I've been in charge for 4+ years.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm. I am single owner. Some days that is difficult to feel like I am the sole person making all of the decisions. But I definitely still have my dad as consulting when I need it. And of course, I have the Drive team to help me when I have questions as well.
Okay, so now you've been pretty much in control, ownership of the business for a little over 5 years now.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm sure it's been a up and down ride, but you've seemed to manage through it. You got yourself into a great condition. You got the shop now where you're part of the top 20 group and everything. But, I have questions about this because, there's so many people out there that listen to our show that are either getting to that age where they're retiring and looking over to turn it over to a family member, or a family member fixing to take over a business. What would you say when that transition happened? I know you started working in the shop officially a little longer than doing the books and stuff like that, but what would your advice be to that to make that a smooth transition? Because it's that, you've got a legacy shop sitting there that's been there for 40 years, and then now you're stepping up to plate to take it over. What was your mindset, and what were some of the challenges you ran across, and some of the maybe advice points you would give somebody to say, it could have went easier if we did this?
I would say my dad started giving me some more authority years ago. I couldn't say exactly when that was, but he would let me start making decisions and say, hey, Jessica, how do you think we should deal with this? And just giving me a little bit of control here and there, so that at the point he was ready to retire, I would have slowly transitioned into making decisions financially or with staff or supplies, whatever it might be. When he retired, he said, I'll see you later. I'm going on a trip for about a month. So he really kind of he let me do my thing. And even in that winter, that following year, he was away at his second home in Florida. So he was a phone call away though. I mean, and realistically, it was fine. It was a little difficult thinking that, hey, dad's not in the back office anymore for me to just go and ask him a question. But in reality, he kind of set me up over the previous years so that I would feel comfortable. He would leave for days at a time or half a day so that I would get a feel for what to do. But just knowing that he was always there, and he still is there, if I need anything from him. But we've really transitioned this shop into a more modern shop than what he was running.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
Now,
Let me ask you, Jessica,
did he have? Oh, sorry, Bob.
are you technically trained?
Myself, no.
Excellent. So there's no chance of you leaving and going into the back and hiding and working on cars.
You wouldn't want me to repair your car. No, I mean, I can take some things apart and put them back together, but it probably would take me 4 to 5 times as long as any one of my technicians. And
No,
I
and
could
actually,
figure-
it's a great thing as an owner not to be technically trained.
right. I mean, I could figure it out if I needed to, but
Mhm.
no, that's why I have lovely technicians to do it for me.
Yeah,
Good.
so Jessica, you brought up a point in there that you, since you're taking over and everything, you modernized the shop.
Mhm.
So that can mean a lot of things. Is that systems, software, internet? What all did you? Because that when we talk about modernization of a shop, that's a big topic in today's
Yeah.
world. Because you're talking about, your marketing is now electronic and internet and based and everything else. Your software systems are now all starting to become cloud based. And now, when it comes into the body shop world, used to your adjusters would drive up to your shop and inspect a car, and now they're like, send me some pictures over the internet and everything's done online. So it's a different world now.
For sure. I think even though our world has modernized over time, we definitely still have gotten a lot more things digital than when he was in the building. With the help of CCC1, we added repair workflow, which you can scan so many documents in, you can order electronically. Those are things that Dad would have never, he didn't understand. He wasn't computer trained. So those things didn't make sense to him, or an internet-based phone so that I can text my customers or call them all in one little portal, are things that he would have never understood or taken him a long time. My shop could be a little bit more digital. We're working at it little by little. But instead of him having to, they would say he would bark orders at them, get this done and get that done and go over here and do this. And, we aim for a lot less verbal communication and try to get everything written so that we're not interrupting workflow to have to sit and explain something
Excellent.
unless it's necessary.
No,
Okay.
that's great.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So now that you've kind of modernized it, has Dad come back and like walked in and said, I'm lost, I don't know what to do without the paper or the verbal communication? Does he ever pull a shop visit and going, what have you done to it?
I don't think he said those things out loud, but you can see it on his face. Yes. He doesn't really know what to do. And even, he does come in from time to time to try to help out. And usually it's just up in the office. If it's just bookkeeping or something like that, he can help with it. But even that is beyond, he wasn't computer trained. He doesn't really know how to use a scanner. But he'll come and help whenever he can. He likes it when I've asked him a couple of times if I've got something like figuring out my OBE. Like that's one of those things, like I ask him to come and sit down and let's look at numbers together because he likes numbers. We sit down, we grab a notepad and we work on it together. Things like that he likes to help me with, or some type of sticky situation that, involves numbers or really just discussing something. Like, what would you do in this situation? That's more of his cup of tea because the other stuff is just beyond what he can handle because he's been out of this business for long enough.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take too long to get antiquated.
Right.
Everything
But his
changes
name
so
is still
fast.
on the building, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Have your technicians embraced aluminum?
Braced aluminum.
In other words, do you have a clean room set up? Are you doing aluminum repair, F-150s?
We are, but not
Uh-huh.
under certification.
Okay. And how are they doing with embracing ADAS?
We aren't. We sublet that. Anything ADAS, we sublet. We have a company a mobile company that comes in to do scans, calibrations, anything we can't handle.
Yeah, that's become a bit of a boutique industry, being mobile ADAS calibration.
I mean, it's costly, but at this time, it's still better for me to pay the sublet than to go through the training to get the equipment and the liability of it.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big commitment.
So another question now, Jessica, not being from the tech side of it and everything, could you walk all of our viewers through your day to day? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, okay, I can't imagine going to shop and not having to work on a car or something like that. What would you do in your day to day? And I know you got the owner role down pretty good. So could you walk us through what your day to day is?
What is my role, my to-do every day? Um,
You're getting tired just thinking about it?
well, yeah, yes and no. I feel like I still need to define what roles I do need to take on and which ones I'm allowing my service writers and my technicians to take. Clearly, I don't do a lot for technicians other than help with production. And it's still a little bit newer to me because 2 months ago, I hired my second service writer. So before that, that was me. Needing at least 2 service writers in the shop. I have hired my second, who has over 20 years experience. So he's walked into this position fairly easily. It's just training the things that he wasn't used to or didn't do in his previous life. So with that aside, my day-to-day is checking on production to make sure we're fulfilling, that we are meeting our customers' expectations, making sure that our parts are here. Realistically, I'm just trying to fill in the gaps mostly for production, and I still fill in bookkeeping. But other than that, I try to stay out of the rest of what's going on. I don't need to know what's going on with every vehicle at this time. Otherwise, it can get confusing, the who did what. So realistically, at this point, I am free to come in when I want to and to leave when I need to, which is rewarding to know that I don't have to be here from open to close. I do have service writers who take care of answering phones and dealing with my wonderful customers. And I have a shop foreman who is in charge of the back.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. So I would imagine your senior service advisor or service writer, it's so funny in the collision industry, that person on the front has got a number of names, anything from customer service rep to estimator to service advisor, yet estimators anymore are really in the back. There's not a whole lot of estimating you're going to do up front. Curbsides are kind of a thing of the past. So I'd imagine that senior person, are they the one doing the negotiating with insurance?
Both of my service writers do. At this point, we're kind of splitting the tasks. And we're still working on that, the who does what. But I take that back. We do still do a fair amount of curbside.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's just how it works. If we had everything dropped off, I don't know what that would look like for us.
No, that's fine. I just know shops that don't do them anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So On another question here now, I'm gonna pick on Cassey for a few minutes. You know, you've been working with Jessica and helping her coach through there and everything. And it's not to pick on you, Jessica, but because I have a thing. Was there ever a time that she was reluctant to make a change over here, Cassey? And then I'm going to ask Jessica's opinion on the other side is what happened when she made that change finally?
All right, so the estimator who she spoke of, it took a good 8 months to convince Jessica that she needed to get an estimator and that, you know, it was going to work within her numbers. And then what would she do? And she had it all handled. And then I think she thought, okay, maybe I could use some help, but I'm not sure. And finally, she found someone. And even then it was like, is this the right person? And listen, Jessica, I totally get it, but you were, it was great. It was a nice tug of war with you. What should we do? How should I set it up? And finally she pulled the trigger. So over to you, Jessica. How's it been?
It's been wonderful. I mean, realistically, since I realized that what I needed was going to come at a price, if you will, I said, you know what, it's just gonna, if it was meant to be, it's gonna be. If finding someone with that type of experience, if I'm going to put that person in my shop, then realistically he's going to prove himself within the first couple of weeks, and he did. So like I said, last week I was able to take 4 days off and go out of state on a trip. I feel confident leaving early in the day or leaving my shop in hands. Like, there are still definitely, Cassey and I talked just yesterday, like there's still things that need to be put in place in order to be able to take off for a few days, and everything still comes out the way we want it. There was a couple of stumbles, and I don't know that if I was here or wasn't here, it would have changed. But in reality, right, I knew I needed someone, but I couldn't pull the trigger. So I'm glad we finally got to the point that I did.
Okay, great. So just real quick, we had a question in here from Scott, and he's asking what curbside was. So just to explain that, Scott, the difference when we're talking curbside or non-curbside, curbside is basically the estimator who walks out to the customer with the car, looks it over, they start the estimating procedure right then and there. Versus non-curbside, they drop the vehicle off and the shop deals completely with the insurance adjusters and everything else. They do tear down and everything, send the pictures off to the insurance adjusters, and the price is all negotiated behind the scenes. It's not in front of the customer.
Yeah,
So
and due to the sophistication of the vehicles, curbsides are getting more and more difficult due to hidden damage, especially with
Curbside is
sensors.
almost as good as a photo estimate.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's kind of
It
along
really
those
is.
lines, though, isn't it? I mean, curbside and photo estimate, you can only see what you can see from the outside of the vehicle.
That's right.
At least at curbside, you get to walk around the vehicle, you get to
Now,
open the hood,
right.
open the door. So
And
it's
build
a little
rapport.
bit better than photo, but we've all seen photo estimates. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a start.
No, and that's a very valid point, because you get to build rapport with the customer too when you do a curbside.
Right.
And solidify that relationship. Oh, that's great. But it's funny, you smiled when you said you pulled the trigger and you got off the counter. I've only known in 30 years 2 owners who didn't like getting off the counter. Getting off the counter is always a relief for most owners, because your attention is no longer 5 minutes from now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny when I always talked about this, Bob, and being through this with my shop and everything else. First thing is, and Jessica didn't have to experience this. First thing is giving up that tech hat, because you're like, nobody can fix the vehicles as good as I can.
Right.
And nobody can do it as good as I can. So then you give that up and you walk into the service desk. The first time you get pulled back to work on a car, you're like mad. You're upset. Why am I back here? I don't even want to be back here. I'm mad. So then you go into that estimating job. I'm sure this kind of works for Jessica at this point. When you finally give that up and you start turning it over, the first time like somebody calls in sick and you got to go back up there, you're like, why am I here? I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I know that's my Friday afternoons actually. So today was a little different, but I do have my Friday afternoons where that is my position. I get to be up front. I get to see whatever customers come through the door. And you know what? I kind of like it. I do kind of like it a little bit, you know, and then it's not to say that I don't deal with my customers during the rest of the week. I do. It's just I don't have to. I can say,
Right.
oh yes, I'm here, but Mindy would love to help you. Or here's Kevin, he'll walk out to your car with you. So I can pass the baton to someone else.
Yeah, it's a good feeling when you don't have to. I agree with you on that, because it's not like you get detached from your customers when you turn over those roles. But this time now, when the customers come in, you have conversations about what's your weekend like and what are you doing next weekend or your last vacation. And then when they bring up something about the car, you're like, oh yeah, go talk to this person. They'll help you out over here. Or, you know, so it changes the flow of it. You get to enjoy more of it. It's not like you have to be there and negotiate the deal and do all that other stuff.
Right.
Yeah. That's like the old joke, you know, you've made it when a customer comes up and asks you, do you work here? You go, no.
Well, I'll speak on this one. The best one is with my shop. I became a remote owner for quite a while in there. And I remember I was gone out doing other things and everything. And I walked back into one of my locations and the service writer greeted me like a customer and treated me like a customer when I walked in the door. And I says, I love this. I love this that you don't know who I am, but I also would like you to go back to the training manual where you had to look up the website and see my picture on it. So you.
Yeah, that's great.
But so Jessica, we got a few more minutes here. What are the plans? What are the big goals and the plans for the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah, what's now?
Right. I have some things in the works. Hopefully in the next few months here, we will have a tow truck in service. It's been kind of a long time coming. We will be adding tow services in our building. Also, my husband and I will be adding a truck repair shop, which is next door to Dave's Auto. We are working on that project. And to do that, I decided that I needed to take Mondays off of working at Dave's Auto this calendar year. So it's coming up that I will be able to start taking Mondays off and not having to work inside of this building to be able to do whatever I need to do, whether it's working on another business, spending time with my kids, having me time. And I can see that coming very soon. The
Well, that's
other,
exciting.
I'm looking at increasing sales this year as well. I'd like to hit the $2 million mark. And
Yeah.
I can see that happening as well.
You know,
Now
that's
have,
awesome. I was gonna say that's awesome, all this. And like I said, it's actually kind of exciting in my book because here you are with the body shop right now, adding towing, adding a truck shop. And I got to put a plug in here for Drive. We do help all those type of shop and business owners now within Drive. So we help towing, we help truck shops, help collision shops, general repair shops. But I think this is exciting because a lot of shop owners think about that when they were looking for the next level. Where do I go? What do I do? And towing is definitely one of the things we see people trying to add because it makes sense to any shop to have your own tow truck. But, you know, and then starting to looking to the other verticals, I'm going to say that's really brave of you and your husband because you know the auto body world and now you're saying, okay, I'm going into the truck world. I was like, okay.
I don't know much about trucks. I'll tell you that. I really don't know much about trucks at all.
how deep into truck are you going to get?
But you know, Jessica,
looking at what they do now, you know, it's anything from fabrication to fiberglass work to I don't know.
Oh, truck collision, not
truck
truck.
Collision, yes. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Sorry, I didn't say that, but it's truck collision.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
that
so
makes total sense.
yeah, your guys will have to go from working on sheet metal to fiberglass when you go to trucks.
Yeah.
Right. There's a staff over there already that we're getting.
Okay, good. So no, it's exciting to hear that you got this expansion roles in there and everything. And like I said, it's going to be exciting to watch you grow and expand into this. But the big thing I look at it is when you get control and how you've gotten control of the body shop right now, the truck shop and the towing is nothing more than applying all these other business skills that you learned in the systems and policies right into those shops. And you're going to see an increase right away. I don't know much about the body shop that's across the truck shop that's across the street, but I'm sure when you bring your systems, policies, and procedures into it, the income, the profits, and everything are going to go right up out the roof right away.
I would think so. There's only room to grow.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
and so,
And my
Cassey,
my last question has to do with Cassey and Jessica. And Jessica, you know, there's an old saying, the great thing about owning your own business is there's no one to tell you what to do. And the horrible thing is there's no one there to tell you what to do. How important is your relationship with a drive coach?
It's very important. Right. I know that Cassey is a phone call or a text away or an email away. Right. There are times that if I don't know what to do, I've got to reach out to someone. And I know that Cassey or Anna, or realistically, probably any coach or member at Drive would be able to step in and take my question or concern. Or if I would needed to call them crying, I'm sure I could cry on someone's shoulder too. There have been moments.
I
Well,
have
that's
to
great.
say that she has been integral. I mean, she joined the top 20 and everybody immediately was like, okay, Jessica. And the reason why is because we started an open collision forum. Jessica jumped right in, you know, was giving her opinion, asking people for their opinions. She just made a network. I mean, she just epitomized what I wanted for the network, what a network is, and she embraces it. So her taking the training, her giving back, she's already starting this process to where, I mean, I see her being integral, especially in the collision world, for Drive moving forward.
That's
you know,
great. I'm very happy that she's part of it.
yes, very happy to have you here today. And the one last thing on there was I was going to say before Bob talked about your relationship with Cassey is I was like, well, Cassey, Bob and I now know Jessica's plans, so you got your work cut out ahead of you too.
Don't
Yes.
I? Don't I?
Yeah.
So, but Jessica, I want to thank you for coming on today, sharing your story and your advice over here. It's just really awesome to see, you know, how you've transitioned into your shop, taking control over it. And you're just a testament of just showing you don't have to be a technician or a technician mind or have those technician skills to run an automotive shop, that you can come in and you can take over and do it successfully just by being the business person. And that's what it takes to be successful, is be that business person.
Right.
And for our viewers out there that you're still having some hard times with your shops and stuff, and maybe the profits ain't where you need to be, or you're working so many hours and stuff, you know, take advice from Jessica, get help, get a Drive coach, work with them and become that business person, because your quality of life is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
And listen to your coach.
And yes, and do
Listen
it.
to your coach.
And do it.
Right, and do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
and do
I
it.
feel like I've definitely pushed back a few times, but in the end,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
have your own good in their mind. You know, like they're really trying to help you as much as, you know, Cassey yelled at me a couple weeks ago because I wasn't on task, and you know, I took it to heart. You know, I'm gonna get my game together over here.
Okay,
I'm
yell
sure
is
you
a
do.
strong word, but yes.
I was
You're
yelling
gonna
via
do great.
text message, mind you, but
Now,
I got it.
David, I want
All
to put a
caps.
plug in for next Friday, the 31st. Is that next Friday already? Yeah. Chris and I will
Yes.
be talking about exit plans and succession. And for those of you who are interested, please turn on and hear what we have to say.
Yes, the best time to plan your exit from your shop is the day you buy it.
It's true.
So So,
That's true.
but once again, thank you for joining us today, Jessica. Really loved having you on the show. Have a great weekend. And like I said, I'm excited to hear when you come up to an expo about this truck collision center and the towing profit centers that you got going on in your business. And we're excited to hear about it.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks,
All
Jess.
right. Well,
Have a
thank you
great
everybody
weekend.
for joining today, and everybody have a great weekend.
Bye.